Good evening and welcome to Ghana Short once again. And thank you for being here on a Sunday evening. One more country has fallen, Syria. One more dictator has been shown the road. Great. But I'm waiting for one dictator to go. You know who? It's Z guy. It will wait. And today we'll talk of the implications of the fall of Syria. And then I'll take on any questions you have. We all know through the day that Syria has fallen. Asad, his whereabouts are not known. What will be the form of government? Who's in charge of Syria? Not very clear, but they say that uh, Al Jolani of uh, you know HTS is in charge, and we'll see how things move the next 2, 3 days, week, 10 days. Things will become clearer. But if you remember, I'd done a program on the Syrian googly just about 4 days back. And at that time, I said, no, I'll not do another program on Syria in a hurry. Little did I know that it's going to fall so fast, though I did trace everything. Now that it has happened, let's get into it. This will be a bit of a repetition from the previous, program. For the simple reason, for those who are watching this for the first time, I need to give a little background, and that so that people, understand what Syria is all about. And when you're looking at the future of Syria, it's good to see into the background of what Syria was on its history to understand where Syria is heading now in this new dispensation, whatever happens. Right. Well, this is the cartoon I had about Syria. No change to this. You don't know who's playing where and what and who's shooting for whom. A beautiful cartoon which actually encapsulates Syria. And I don't think this will change much. That's the first thing I want to put across to everyone. Right, now let's get to Syria proper. Syria is a fertile Mediterranean country. It's got an opening to the Mediterranean Sea, uh, rich in oil, self sufficient, and a little for export. Gas it has in plenty, a lot of phosphates, and being a fertile country, it's got a lot of agriculture. Right. If it is strategically well located, it's at the crossroads of Asia, Europe, and Africa. Anyone want to go to Africa? You have to, from Europe, you have to come down Lebanon, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Egypt. You're in Africa. Cross the Suez Canal and you're in Africa, and vice versa. You want to go to from Asia to Europe, same. Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria, on to Europe through the Mediterranean, and vice versa. Uh, the sea gives it tremendous access. Seaports give it tremendous access to the maritime trade routes, and that's how it actually got importance in the olden days. And then from the Mediterranean, you hit the Tigris and the Euphrates Valley, and historic. Oh, Syria has been a key player in the Middle Eastern politics always, right? Neighboring countries like neighboring countries are, which are these? If I have to recount, Turkey in the north, Iraq to the east, Jordan to the south, Israel and Lebanon to the southwest, south and southwest. Right? These have shaped the regional dynamics for a long time in this area. And importantly, for the past about 5, 6 years, Syria has been hosting a very significant naval base of Russia and the Air Force base. Uh, Russia, US, Iran have vested interest in Syria, and so does Qatar and Saudi Arabia. We'll discuss each of this. What are the what look what is it uh, in the future for them? What are the implications for this fall of Syria for each one of them? We'll go over it patiently. Go to the background. In 58, Egypt and Syria wanted to become the United Arab Republic as a one single nation. It was in 70, Hafez al Sayed, Asad, sorry, Hafez al Asad, Bashar Assad's father, he came to power in a coup. Incidentally, Assad was an ophthalmologist. I don't know how many of you know that, right? Whereas Hafez Assad was an Air Force officer. His father was an Air Force officer, politically alive, and that's how he grabbed power in 70. Uh, in 73, Egypt and Syria went to war with Israel, Yom Kippur War. In 80, Syria backed Iran in the Iran-Iraq War. Uh, in 87, Assad, the elder one, the father, interfered in Lebanon. That this was for the second time. He had interfered earlier also. In a way, Syria has been a fighting nation, fights with everyone. Ladaku Biman. Uh, 82, Muslim Brotherhood came up. Asad was from a influential uh, group called the Alawites, or it's a Shia sect, right? So it had a natural leaning towards Iran. Uh, as late as 2007, they had nuclear ambitions. Israel had to destroy that nuclear site through an airstrike. 2011, Syria got affected by the Arab Spring. Mass demonstrations were there. Syria responded with force, a massacre, and then started the civil war. 2013 to 17, Syria has used chemical weapons against its own people. It has butchered its own people. Who did it? Bashar al Assad. 2014, ISL enters the scene, and almost two-thirds of Syria was under ISL rule, along with some the more of the northeastern part, along with the northwestern part of Iraq. They had a separate state. ISL broke, fell off in around 2015 when Russia, Iran, Hezbollah all entered the conflict, and US had withdrawn. It was Russia, Iran, and Hezbollah who propped up Assad. Otherwise, he would have gone. Right? 2019, Turkey launches an offensive into Iraq. Why? Against the Kurds. So everyone is going after everyone. That's why that you know cartoon, interesting cartoon. Right? As late as 2020, Turkey and Russian backed Syrian government forces. Russia backs the Syrian government, Turkey backs the rebels, and Turkish forces they clash. So a lot of this thing. Now in 2024, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, it launched its offensive and it's toppled Assad completely. We don't know his whereabouts. There are news that he went in an IL-76, which is crashed. Some say he's in Russia. It'll come out. So there's no hurry for that. But this is an interesting thing which I want to reiterate. The complete Israel campaigns, right from 48 till date, has had about 1 lakh casualties. That's the Yom Kippur War, the Six-Day War, right? Everything. All the Lebanon, Bekaa Valley conflict, Gaza, Palestine, everything put together. Okay. From 2011 onwards, just 2011 onwards, the Syrian civil war has accounted for 6 lakh casualties. Muslims killing Muslims, butchering them, using chemical weapons, all kinds of nonsense. And it's very interesting. When all this was happening, there were no demonstrations in USA. There were no demonstrations in EU or the Middle East. When Israel does it, पूरा खड़ा हो जाता है. So you see this problem within the Islamic world. What they do against each other, they're not bothered. No one came and killed Muslims in this. Muslims killed Muslims. Largely. Right? Okay. This is the religious, breakdown of Lebanon. Largely 74% are Sunni. But this is a little misleading because a large part of the 75%, 74% is Bedouin tribes who are Bedouin and really not uh, Sunni in the classic sense. Then, of course, they have Alawites, they have Orthodox Christians, they have Druze, Roman Catholics, other religions, all that. And the distribution is like this. Why am I showing these two? If you see the white area is the Bedouin area, the green area is the Sunni area, the orange area is the Druze, the yellow area is the Alawites, and interspersed with Christians. And to the north, you have some Turkic areas and Kurds. Kurds are spread over southern Turkey, northern Syria, northern Iraq, northern Iran. They want a separate nation. That will not go away. That will always be a source of problem. Why am I showing this? The way these people have been there for years together, and the way the demography is spread out, and the way they've had internecine warfare within, right? I don't see that this country coming back into peace in a hurry. If you think that this HTS, which was an Al Qaeda affiliate, right, becoming the good boy overnight to hold elections and all that, I don't think so. Even if it does, there'll be problems. Because a balanced, or rather, I wouldn't say balanced also, a stable country like multicultural country, multi-ethnic, multi-religious country like Lebanon, which is probably one of the most, you know, uh, for lack of better words, balanced, stable. It was balanced and stable, despite its disparities, has gone for a toss. It's violent now with the rise of Hezbollah and all that. I don't see how Iraq, which is emerging from a civil war, with equal disparity in its construct or in its composition, will jump into peace. So you're going to have strife. That's the first thing I can put it across. Okay. Now let's look at a few issues. Will radicalism rise? Sure, it will. It will rule because whether we like it or not, the Alawites were not that radical. It's one thing that Bashar took help of Hezbollah and Iran and Iraqi militias to be in power. But fundamentally, he was not a radical. He was quite. Uh, he was from the Baathist, political thought process, which was quite secular. In fact, if you go into Baathism, it's a pretty secular religion. So radicalism is going to come up. and one doesn't know how this HTS will pan out. Given its history, very difficult. Plus the fact that the ethnicities within Syria, Kurds, Christians, uh, Sunnis, Bedouin, Alawites, that one doesn't know. So expect radicalism, expect instability in this country for a long time to come. It's not going to be easy. At this point of time, you'll see a lot of pictures on social media where people are singing happy, their statues are coming out, yeah, all that. We saw that in Bangladesh also. What happened? वो भी चल रहा है वहाँ कहानी. Same thing one can expect here. Iran, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia will vie for power and influence here. At this point of time, Iran's power has diminished. There's no doubt. Turkey's power is at the ascendant here because HTS has been given a lot of help by Turkey. Saudi Arabia is on the sidelines and watching. Why I'm saying Iran, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, these three big countries vie for leadership of the Muslim world. The problem with Turkey is it doesn't have money, but it's got NATO backing. Because Turkey and the area to the south represents the soft underbelly of NATO. NATO is always worried about this area. Right? Saudis will be saying, okay, this is our chance because we'll now exert our money power and get into Syria. Iran will vie for its time, but there are other problems of Iran. We'll come to that. Okay. What about Hezbollah and Hamas? Because that has effect on the overall region, Israel war and all that. We all know that Hezbollah was almost decimated after those pager attacks and Hassan Nasrallah being knocked off, their leadership being knocked off, and Israel's offensive into Lebanon, and already they've come into some kind of a ceasefire. Very weak. In fact, like I said in the previous thing, I think this entire story of this rebel offensive started when Hezbollah became weak and Iran became weak. And people on ground perceived and sensed that Iran has not been able to really stand up to Israel, and Hezbollah was almost decimated. So that weakness destabilized the Assad regime. People on ground knew it and they did what they have to do. So will Hezbollah and Hamas revive? I doubt. Why? Because now the umbilical from Iran will get cut. And that's why you see even Houthis have not been very active in the past 2 weeks. After the Israel counter on Iran, the Houthis also have not been very active. So you will see that this problem of Hezbollah and Hamas will, go down. In any case, Israel and Hezbollah have come into a deal for a ceasefire. I visualize that ceasefire extending a bit. And what about Hamas to be dealt with? After all, Hamas has been also hammered for the past 1 year. Now, the issue with Hamas is the hostages. So, how that will pan out, one has to see. Will Hamas listen to Trump's warning that to hand over hostages? That's far fetched. Because the only trump card that Hamas has are the hostages. So, but overall, the heat around Israel, I expect it to go down. There will be attacks, some rocket attacks, some firing will be there, but I don't think that intensity of warfare, which was there earlier, will be back. The focus will be in Syria because everyone will now want, every chap who wants his pie in Syria, influence in Syria, At the same time, everyone will be screaming for peace in Syria. Okay. Qatar and Saudis, they have a special thing for Syria. They will want to open that pipeline. So that pipeline, which through the Mediterranean and onto Europe, that avoids Israel completely and avoids Lebanon completely. So Qatar and Saudis will, support any Sunni faction to be in power, or a Sunni ruled Syria, which was not there for the past 53 years, is good news for Qatar and Saudis. After all, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and you can see, right? Yeah. From Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Syria, Mediterranean, into Greece straight. Which, let me, as an extension, your IMEC is no more dependent on Israel. What is IMEC? India Middle East corridor. Right? So you can go through this, even if you have to go through Oman, that's okay. So prospects for India in this are better, provided there is stability in Syria. That proviso has to be understood, that Syria has to be stable. Will Syria be stable? $1 million question. Okay. But then you never know what happened in Taliban. You might not like Taliban. Taliban might be doing all, bad things with their women and not give rights and all that. But they stabilized Afghanistan far better than all these high-flown Pakistan army could stabilize Pakistan. So similarly, something could happen. So, but too early to say. So, what about Jordan? Now, Jordan is in a dicey position. Why? Jordan, the king of Jordan, just about balances everyone out. Jordan went through a very rough patch when the Palestinians took refuge there. And there are a lot of problems because these Palestinians wanted to upstage the king of Jordan. The king of Jordan had to carry out an operation against Palestinians long back. Incidentally, who headed it? Who did all this? Ziaul Haq as a brigadier. He massacred Palestinians. But that's a different story. So Jordan, if a lot of this radicalism or violence spills over from Syria, Jordan gets into a problem. Right? So Jordan will be in a slightly tricky position. Israel will be happy with this whole situation, but its northern border with Syria, it has to take care. Golan Heights and beyond. Already there is news that Israel is taking out a whole lot of targets where chemical weapons are there, or any sub-nuclear facilities and depots and all that of Syria, which could become a threat to it, or could be a staging post for Hezbollah. That news is on the thing. We'll touch upon it. Okay. The interesting thing is, will there be a domino effect on Iran? Why? If you look at this entire story, when the one country which has come out very weak after this whole story is Iran. Iran has started looking weak because now it's linked with Hamas and Hezbollah have been cut. Uh, Iran tried to interfere in this, but it didn't. It couldn't. It went back. In fact, the what comes out of whatever media reporting is there is that the Syrian forces virtually didn't want to fight. They just welcomed STS, and that's why Iran backed out. So Iran has lost a lot in this. It's lost its ability to project power through its proxies. In which case, Iran has become vulnerable. Will Iran go through something like this? Because now, after all, remember, last year Iran had a lot of issues. There were riots rocking Tehran. Somewhere around last year, you know, Masa Amini, she was put in jail and she died, and a lot of protests in Iran. They were all put down with a heavy hand. Now, will that happen? Because Iran has not is become weak. So we'll have to watch what happens in Iran, and that will be interesting. And slightly weaker Iran, the way I look at it, is good for India, because Iran will now seek India to get a way out. And I'll tell you why as we go along. So Iran will now turn increasingly more to India for political relevance. And with this, Saudi Iran relationship is gone for a toss. That great thing with Mr. Xi Jinping did, reconciliation between Saudis and Iran, that's gone. Saudis will now be licking their fingers. कि भाई हमें तो मौका मिल गया. ठीक है? Of course, they will, on the surface, there will be some bonhomie, I wouldn't say bonhomie, normal relations and all. But Saudis won't let go this opportunity. Okay? Now, this is what I said about Israel. This is the thing which came out. So have a look at it closer so that you understand. I'll read it out. It says Israel Air Force appears to be carrying out a widespread strike campaign right now against military targets in southern Syria, likely to prevent certain equipment and systems from falling into the hands of rebel forces. So far, strikes have targeted Kalkaha Air Base in the Suwadia Governorate, Meze Air Base in Damascus, and several other sites in Dara province, just to the north of Israel, Golan Heights and beyond. So, like I said, there are pictures which say, "Oh, this is a chemical factory which has been destroyed," and all that. We can't make out from those clips whether the chemical factory has been destroyed or not. So, we'll leave it at that. Okay. Yeah. Let me spend a little more time on Iran. Syria was the backbone of Iran's regional, you know, power projection and its geopolitical plans. Uh, at this point of time, Assad needed help, but Iran chose an exit. Iran didn't help Assad. Now, this collapse, like I said earlier, will reshape the balance of power in the Middle East completely. Just watch, it will happen. Right. Iran's axis of resistance with H3, Hezbollah, Hamas, right, and Houthis will get weakened. It's already weakened. We'll see where it goes. And Israel and Arab allies would be strengthened. So the revival of normalcy between Israel and Saudis would commence. So these are the larger issues as far as Iran is concerned. Because understanding this is important. Like I said, a weakened Iran will turn to India for geopolitical relevance. All right. So that's a opportunity for us. Now let's talk of USA. Very interesting. Uh, I'll give you two contrasting views which have come out. I won't say contrasting, in some ways they're complementary, but it gives you this thing. This lady, as you know, is Mrs. Tulsi Gabbard, who's going to be the director of national intelligence now as part of the Trump cabinet. This is what she had to say in 2021. Not now, this is an old video, but here what she says. It's interesting.
I am glad to hear that some of my former colleagues in Congress are speaking out against the recent unconstitutional airstrikes in Syria. But they're ignoring the bigger issue. The regime change war the United States continues to wage in Syria using Al Qaeda, Al Nusra, HTS terrorists as our proxy ground force, and who now occupy and control the city of Idlib, imposing Sharia law and cleansing the area of most Christians and religious minorities. The Biden administration continues to use our military to illegally occupy northeastern Syria to, quote, take the oil, as Trump so crassly but honestly put it, violating international law. A modern day siege of draconian embargo and sanctions, similar to what the Saudi-US alliance employed in Yemen, is causing death and suffering for millions of innocent Syrians, depriving them of things like food, medicine, clean water, energy, warmth, and making it impossible for the Syrian people to try to begin to rebuild their war-torn country.
This is of 21. It's very clear HTS was there even then in charge of Idlib, Al Nusra, all that, Al Qaeda. And USA was involved in it, as per her. I have no reason to doubt it. And USA has always been trying to do this regime change. So, is it out of context to say that it was USA which has said, okay, go ahead, do what you want to Turkey? And this whole thing has started. So, the US hand in this entire deal is pretty apparent. It's not stated, but apparent. Same thing like in Bangladesh. The US hand was apparent, but not stated, never stated. Where is it left Bangladesh? In the drums. Same thing for Syria. In fact, I think it will be worse. Why? Mr. Trump has put out this statement today. And again, I'll take 2 minutes to read it out. Because it's important that the people understand this, what he's put out. Opposition fighters in Syria, in an unprecedented move, have totally taken over numerous cities in a highly coordinated offensive and are now on the outskirts of Damascus, obviously preparing to make a very big move toward taking out Assad. It's happened. Russia, because they are so tied up in Ukraine and with the loss thereof of 6 lakh soldiers, seems incapable of stopping this literal march through Syria, a country they have protected for years. Okay, so we'll talk of Russia separately. This is where the former President Obama refused to honor his commitment of protecting the red line in sand, and all hell broke out with Russia stepping in. But now they are like possibly Assad himself being forced out, and it may actually be the best thing that can happen to them. There was never much of a benefit in Syria for Russia than to make Obama look really stupid. In any event, Syria is a mess, but that is not our friend, and the United States should have nothing to do with it This is not a fight. Let it play out. Do not get involved. So Trump has made his stance very clear. He says he's not going to get involved with Syria. Whether US government, so far, the Biden government has been involved in it or not, like Tulsi Gabbard pointed out in way back in 2021, that's a different story. And this is a different story. Now he says, I'm not going to be here. So he'll withdraw. His interest is very clear, Israel. His interest is very clear. He'll put up the Abraham Accords or he'll uphold the Abraham Accords. He'll let Syria do what they want. So that's going to be a bit of a problem. Who's the power who will be in charge there? Will it be Saudi? Will it be Iran? Iran is weak. Or Turkey? So chaos will continue. And Russia definitely can't handle the situation because we'll talk of Russia. They're already packing up their base as per news. China is also out. Oh, I'll talk about China also. उसका भी बात करेंगे Xi Jinping जी का. So we are looking at a period of chaos ahead in Syria. I mean, अभी तो ठीक है. All balle balle dancing on tanks and getting all these idols down and all that. But let's see what happens. Okay, now let's look at the larger picture. Let's look at the outer wheel. I called it the inner wheel. The inner wheel in around Syria, with Syria as the hub, is Turkey, Lebanon, Israel, Saudi, Jordan, Iraq, Iran. That's the inner wheel. The outer wheel is this. You're looking at USA, Russia, France, China. USA has made its stance very clear. Possible and probable, and most likely, my view is that USA had a big hand in giving Turkey the go-ahead or encouraging HTS to move. Or they would have said, we'll look the other way, you go. Probable. Everything is probable in this. And their further stance is very clear. January 20th, come January 20th, the president of America is very clear he will not get involved in Syria. He's got nothing to do with Syria. He'll leave everyone to their mess, which is a good thing, the way I look at it. Let them sort their problems out. Syria hosts a naval base, and this is Russia's only base outside the cold water ports of the Baltic and Black Sea. There's only warm water port, Tartus. And one of the reports I read that they're packing up from there. And Russia has not interfered in this entire story. The last time around, Russia came with heavy hand to help Asad. This time they have not done anything. Why? They're stuck in Ukraine war. Today's Russia is much weaker than what happened 2 years back, 3 years back in Syria, where it stood for Assad with Iran. Right? It's stuck. And it also indicates the limits to which Russia can extend itself. You see, this is significant. People don't understand. Or people look, रशिया चाइना का गठबंधन ज्यादा बढ़ रहा है. वो बढ़ेगा भाई, बट यहाँ तो प्रॉब्लम है उसको. If Russia is pushed out of Syria, it loses whole lot of influence there. It's going to happen. Then Putin ji has to just stick to finishing off the Ukraine war. Now it's in Putin's interest to get Ukraine war to a closure. After all, why did Russia go into Syria? Prestige. That's gone. See, Syria is going to affect the Israel-Iran war Understand the outer wheel, which I'm talking. This is the outer wheel, larger issue of geopolitical, circumstances. It's going to affect the Israel-Iran war. It's going to affect the Russia-Ukraine war. It's also going to affect whatever is happening in the Western Pacific with China and USA. Already, look, for the past 15 days, the thing in China has gone up against China. US has deployed a nuclear submarine there. It's deployed a nuclear carrier out there. It's put cruise missiles in Luzon, Philippines. It's put HIMARS in the first island chain. George Washington, the nuclear carrier which I spoke of, has moved into Japan. They've given something like $285 million worth of weapons to Taiwan. Taiwan, Lai Ching-te has gone to Hawaii, spent 2 3 days there and came back. And China is absolutely, livid about it. So that's been ranked up. And when is this connected? After all, USA could have done all this. It's shifting its focus to the east, which everyone wanted, the pivot to the east. Today, they're actually militarily pivoting to the east. And they have very clearly, Trump has said, I'm going to let go here. So there's a larger shift happening in the global geopolitics. Are we seeing it? Yes, we are. Are we going to do anything about it? Join me day after tomorrow. I'm going to discuss this with Brigadier Arun Sehgal. Okay? And we're going to talk about India's changing equations in the global flux. There's a flux. Change. Okay. Now let's talk of China. We'll finish France first. France has interests in the Francophone world. It's got small dots of influence all over. North Africa. It had interests in Syria, Indian Ocean, Pacific. It's got sovereign territory. So whatever happens here affects France. Let's talk of China. What's happened to China is very interesting. Last year, Xi Jinping invested into Asad. During the Asian Games, which was held at Hangzhou, Xi Jinping sent a special Air China plane to get Asad. See this Air China plane? He sent this plane specially for Asad to get him for the Asian Games. Okay? And this was the time when Xi Jinping had brokered the Saudi Arabia-Iran, peace deal. And much was being made. China will bring peace to the Middle East and we'll broker peace. All that is in tatters today. There are a lot of talk about cricks in the past 6 months. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. What has happened there? China will talk of tomorrow. China is declining. I'll talk of it tomorrow. Now it's official. Not me telling. They are themselves telling. We'll talk of that tomorrow. Russia, where it is today. Iran also we have seen. So North Korea is, I'll talk of it, even there are problems. So this cricks, limited value. The way I look at it, others might have a different view. Now, we have to be pragmatic in what we are talking of. And I'm being pragmatic. Can Iran recover from this in a hurry? I don't think so. It will take time. Iran has to find fresh ground. Will China recover ground in Middle East geopolitically, militarily, whatever you call it, influence? Difficult. Yeah, he'll continue trading. Chinese will continue trading. But will it get that influence? I don't think so. You have to see China's thing not only from this point of view, it's having problems in Pakistan, it's having problems in Iran. Now, Syria, Hezbollah had supported it, went for a toss. Look at the Chinese play. Why? Very fundamental. The Chinese will never understand the Muslim mind. In this, Jal Hasnain, when he came and we did a show, he himself, I remember, said, yeah, the Chinese don't understand what the intricacies of the Muslim world are. They are going about it. Very soon you will see all this coming unraveling. And it's so true. It's happening. Okay. Yeah. Now let's talk of the future of Syria. It's up for grabs. What's going to happen? One doesn't know. Well, I have so far spoken of Russia, I've spoken of China, I've spoken of everyone. What about India? What are India's stakes in Syria? And this is where things get interesting. And this is where India has an opportunity to come onto its own. You know, India and Syria with Assad had good equation. Very good equation. 9 million Indians are there in Syria. And we supported them. Okay? Yeah. India has ground support. Remember, people will say ISIS, ye, wo, all that, Al Qaeda, affiliate, HTS, all these equations will come into play. But also remember, at the height of problems with ISIS, if you remember, there were 9 nurses or someone who were kept for a long time by ISIS. They were returned to India, Indian nurses. We had good equations even then when ISIS was at the height of its powers and it was just spreading terror all around. They didn't touch Indians. We were probably the only nation who brought them back after being kidnapped. I think 9 nurses. I don't remember the numbers, but it was quite a significant amount. They were somewhere near Mosul or Kirkuk. I'm forgetting that thing. But that incident, I remember. They, after a long period of captivity, they were released back to us. Incidentally, Asad and Syria supported India on Kashmir. They said Kashmir is an internal matter of India. Okay. And Syria will need help. Whom will it depend on? USA not there. Turks, it will definitely they will go towards Turkey. Saudi Arabia will not want Turkey to get too much influence. Iran will seek influence back. Who's the good guy in this? India. So Syria with 9 million Indians there, and whatever happens, you will see India has an opportunity. Like we had in Afghanistan. Again, when Afghanistan happened, everyone said, oh, India has lost it. But today India has got one of the best hands in Afghanistan. Everyone said Maldives, India has lost it. Today we have one of the best hands there. Look at Sri Lanka. Everyone said we have lost everything in Sri Lanka. We have one of the best hands there even now. Yeah, we have a problem in Bangladesh. That'll take time. But let's see where that goes. Maybe Bangladesh people will come to their senses a matter of another 5, 6 months. We have to be patient. We have to exhibit strategic patience. Right? So the world is up for a change. And this is something we need to realize. Right. Uh, like I said, where Syria goes, we'll see because the permutation combinations are too early. You like my analysis? Please press the like button. And those of you who are subscribing who have come for the first time, my earnest request is please subscribe for Ghana Shot. And also consider becoming members of my channel. I don't give much back to members except good wishes. Let me be very honest. And this is only because uh, it's a do good affair. For when you become membership, whatever money you put, it's 100, $120, very small amount. It goes for education of girls. Right? So far, I've been able to educate 3 kids. I want to give more. That will depend on all of you. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, there's one question which it just struck my mind. You didn't mention about Kurds anywhere. What will happen to them? They'll have a problem. The Kurds will continue to have a problem because the Kurds are spread over 4 countries. And they want a separate nation called Kurdistan covering these 4 countries. That means if Kurdistan has to come, 4 sovereign territories have to be knocked off. So they'll have to find a balance within all this. Remember, USA was supporting Kurds and they left them high and dry. So that's why I said Syria is up for grabs still. We don't know whether this government, what will happen, will it be inclusive, will it be exclusive, will it be ethnic back, what it is. We'll see how it goes. Okay. Google tells me only 1990 Indian nationals in Syria. Well, okay, let's put it this way, Jyotishwar. Maybe I'm wrong, but this is something which I also gleaned from this thing. About 9 million, maybe less. But even if that is not there, we still have goodwill. The other thing is very clear. Bashar al-Assad supported India on Kashmir. In fact, India voted against sanctions on Syria. That's on record. So we have good equations. So we will leverage. I'm very clear about it. Okay. So someone else also says 9 million, wrong number. Maybe I've read it wrong. I'm entitled to make one odd mistake. Right. This is an interesting question by Krishna. 5 years back, it started with COVID, then Russia-Ukraine war, then Israel, Iran, power change in Thailand, Sri Lanka, Japan, Bangladesh, Syria, unrest in South Korea. Should one treat them all as independent events? I think it's a very good question you asked, and I don't think we can treat it as completely independent events, except the Korean case. The Korea has its own problems. South Korea. South Korea has had a lot of history of assassinations and presidents being put in jail, impeachment, and all that. But the other countries, most of them, like Bangladesh, what you said, Bangladesh, for that matter, Sri Lanka, uh, yeah, Russia, Ukraine war, a lot of them are the result of COVID. COVID has had a deep impact on the geopolitics of many countries. If you see post COVID, which are the countries which have come out well and successful? They are large open democracies. Democracies with their openness could handle the pressures of COVID. All these countries were small countries, autocracies, rigid. Apparently, they did well, but on a long term basis, they didn't do well. And COVID has hit their economies, it has hit their societies, like it happened in China. So, COVID has had a major impact. They're not all independent. Some extent, yes, but yeah. Kumar Gopalan requests on my behalf. Everyone, please press the like button. Request. Yeah, it would appear that ideologically, when Muslims are at jihad amongst themselves, then the force which believes the opposing force to be purer would surrender without a fight. No, they'll never surrender without a fight. Okay. So, you've seen this in Kurram in Pakistan, where the Shias and Sunnis are killing each other. And this is at a wider scale. That's about all. How did the rebels capture Syria in a matter of 2 weeks? If Assad escaped, what happens to the Syrian army now? They'll all get integrated. You see, Syria was held by sheer force by Assad, brutal force, assisted by Hezbollah and Iran. The moment Iran and Hezbollah went off, the force fell. And the Syrian army just collapsed. It's something like what happened to the Afghan National Army when the US chaps were leaving. That's about all. Yeah, the rebels who have taken over Syria are affiliated to Al Qaeda and ISIS, but still West is celebrating as victory. Is West mentally sick now that they're supporting terrorism? Let us see how things pan out, because the West has done a lot of things. After all, it was the West which gave birth to Al Qaeda. Okay, yeah. Did Putin let Assad fall because they were busy with Ukraine? Remember, Russia saved Assad regime previously. Now Russia is becoming weaker. That's what I told Manoj. That's what I said. That's a fact. Uh, where will Assad go for asylum? Let's see where he goes. I mean, we don't know. How quickly support from allies Russia and Iran evaporated like they weren't even there? Yeah, it's happened. Why? The people of Syria got fed up. It is not because the allies became weak. Iran definitely became weak. Hezbollah became weak, and Russia could only do conventional support, and that conventional support is not useful in this kind of a revolution. That's how it is. What is the exact equation of Turkey and Israel today and 13 years ago? 13 years ago, Turkey supported the creation of ISIS. Israel and USA initially helped ISIS. Why is Israel silent? Israel is silent right now because it suits Israel. Turkey is happy with because it has helped its influence spread. Many times Turkey and Israel coordinate, but many times they fight also. You see, this Palestine problem, Turkey stood against Israel. So these are all shifting loyalties. Okay, nothing is permanent. So your previous show on Syria was such a matured and systemic coverage in Syria. Thank you. Let me ask you a counter question. You think this coverage today was not that matured or systemic? In fact, what I would suggest is see the previous one, which is a little more detailed, and this, and you'll get the full picture of what Syria is. Overall, is it good or bad? Asad was anti-Israel. He supports Hezbollah. Also, rebels are more radical. As I understand, both are bad. I would say let them fight. Yeah, I agree with you. Momi, I agree with you completely. Yeah, will we see a new terrorist organization similar to ISIL? We don't know. At this point of time, honestly, I don't know how this will pan out. Let us see. Though Al Jalani has said he's no more of that variety, but we never know. Are we in a jungle raj? Any machinery can take over country? what one is doing. Any army forces can have tanks. Look, we are not in a jungle raj in India. Okay, that can happen in Israel, Syria. That's why I showed you the history of Syria. Syria has never been a peaceful place right from beginning. Something or the other has been happening. It's never been peaceful. What you're seeing today, you're aware of it, so you're seeing. I've been following Israel for the past 30 years. I remember uh, Hafez al-Assad going into Lebanon, and I studying about it and how Lebanon went into problem. So it's not jungle raj. It's the history of that country. That's why I showed it to you. Yeah, this is a question which keeps coming. Why did Syria, uh, fall so quickly? It fell so quickly. Again, I'll repeat, because the forces of Assad were being given a push, or supported by Hezbollah, Iran, and Russia. Hezbollah broke, Iran became weak. Russia could only give limited support, air support and naval support and things like that. Okay, so it had to fall. People were not, unless the people are with you, you cannot fight. So there was no fight between the HTS and Syrian army, or yeah, there was no fight. So where will these people come? They tried to do something, they could nothing. Yeah. If there's a resurgence of ISIS, will it pose a threat to India? If 2004 like ISIS, 2014 like ISIS situation arise, will India consider airstrikes on them? Don't think so much. ISIS is not going to come back. This is a affiliate of ISIS with the once upon a time, and this fellow says, "I'm not interested in that ideology." Let us see. Wait, don't worry. Don't get so scared. They'll come and hit you. Ukraine, Bangladesh, Georgia, now Syria, US is on a roll when it comes to regime change and political interference. Is CIA policy steadfast regardless of leadership? Also, how come they can do so much? Well, they've invested in these places for so long that able to do it. But Mr. Trump has made it very clear, and Mrs. Tulsi Gabbard has also made it clear how they were being supported by things. So you're going to see a shift there, and that shift is going to have is into the unknown. So for many questions you ask, I won't know. If I were a Turk, I'd be scratching my head thinking, how is my neo-caliph Erdogan joining hands with the same Israel and US he kept hounding for a genocide? Proves Gaza is, yeah, that this is geopolitics. Yeah. As Biden's legacy will remember these last moves that suddenly backed both Russia and Iran into a corner, but with their backs to the wall, they're bound to be erratics, or will they both back off? Look, they have their own problems at home. So, like I said, what happens internally, the domino effect, it's not going to be easy for them to recover. Okay, it will take time. Heard some China, no, will not talk. Boron powered propulsion, I'll talk of it separately, NRK. It's a topic of its own. I'll talk of it. I know enough of it. Yeah, talk about Nepal Tibet railway and implications on India. I have done this day before yesterday, Friday evening, 9:30. Okay, the Nepal's drift to China. Go look into that. I spent 20 minutes discussing this. Any practical ideas to reign in Bangladesh? We'll think of it. Give me some time. Because the situation in Bangladesh is pretty fluid at this point of time. And our foreign secretary is going there. So let's see, wait for the outcome of what happens there. Will this be counted as part of color revolution? Could call it color revolution, anything, it's a revolution, right? It is something else only, the way I look at it. If Bashar is alive, maybe his theory is not over. I don't think he can come back. Right. Sir, Bangladesh is now allowing Pak to enter country without security clearances. Do you foresee any terror attack in the northeast of India due to this? Hoping that India may possible. It's a possibility, but like I said, just let's wait till our foreign secretary goes to Bangladesh, then we'll talk about it. Yeah, Sriharsha Namduri, sir, keeping the safety of Bangladesh Hindu aside, you think we can capture the adjoining parts of Bangladesh with the alibi of Bangladesh infiltration to India? Does it benefit us for the chicken snake? It doesn't really. You will only end up with a problem. Uh, there are better methods. There are to handle this whole situation. You have to understand. You can capture a piece of territory, but you're going to have nearly 200 million unhappy people next to you. What is easier? They're right under your armpit, and they'll keep doing this. So we'll have to be careful as to what we have to do with Bangladesh. We have to be wise. How will Syrian event impact subcontinent's jihadists? It won't. Don't worry. Is this a deal with Russia, Qatar? No, it's not. There is no deal. Okay. I'll take one question from each. Lebanon, Gaza, okay. Three fronts of Israel are out of commission. I agree with you. Oh, I like this. Pricks. Pakistan, Russia, India, China. Manoj, good one. Yeah, watching on the big screen just came to upvote and laugh. Thank you. Okay. Sir, there were 35 men whose fate was not known. I have no this thing. Yeah, I've mentioned about Kurds. Kurds, I've mentioned. 9 million is 9 million Indians in Syria is surely wrong. Maybe I might be mistaken. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. You're excellent in geopolitics. Thanks a lot. Global politics. Thanks a lot. That's why I request everyone uh, come and join Gunner Shot, because certain things you'll not get it from any other channel. I can assure you this. What I cover in geopolitics and Gunner Shot, you will not get in any other channel. Now that Iran has been put on the back foot, will it increase chances of IMEC going through? Yes, it will. That's what I said. So that can be the benefit. Yes, I said that. IMEC is, in fact, if Saudi and Qataris get through to the new dispensation which comes, that pipeline will go through there, which is better for us rather than through Haifa. Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. That is three countries with Kurds. Is Iran the fourth? Yes, Iran also has Kurds. Most of the regime changes have handed over the governments to radical Islam. Yes, that's the problem. That's the danger in this whole thing. That's why I said the first thing which I said in my analysis is radicalism. That's the thing. How rebels achieved surprise? Very simple. They found, you see, the people in Syria, I told you, 6 lakhs people died in the past 13 years. Every year, 50,000 people dying. So chemicals being used up against your own people. So you can't have a happy population. When someone comes with a force, people will join. That's what they join. There's no surprise. It was not a surprise. Assad was being kept in power thanks to Iran, Hezbollah, and Russia. Two of them packed up, finished. Yeah, with Turkish troops already in Syria, currently said to be after the Kurds, what will be on Erdogan's mind? Let us see. This war is not over. There's a lot to go ahead. You'll see a lot of problems coming up now in Syria. Yeah. What about disintegration of Syria, Kurds, Alawites, Turkey, even Israel wants to? Yeah, Israel must have grabbed land by now. That's if I were Israeli, I'll grab north of Golan Heights. Some experts say there's a deal between USA and Russia that you leave Syria and keep parts of Ukraine. I don't think so. Anyway, Trump won't do that. Yeah. Yeah. View regarding South Korea, the president declared martial law to prevent the denial of passage of the budget by parliament. This is an equivalent of no confidence motion. It got look, whatever happened in South Korea is pure politics. Internal politics of South Korea, nothing to worry about. I've been to South Korea. There are a strong set of people. They know what they're doing for themselves, and they're completely democratic. Like I said, Akash, I'll do the Korean Peninsula one day separately. So there are certain aspects of North Korea, certain aspects of South Korea, and they impact Russia, they impact China, they impact Japan, they impact USA. We'll talk of it separately. Will Russia lose Africa for being a security provider due to letting Assad? Possible. Let's see, because what has happened is a whole lot of instability has got into the system. A lot of instability has got into the system. So, what happens, we have to see. Now, the point is that security provision, if Russia goes out, what will China do? China has got huge stakes in Africa, and China has got a whole lot of mercenaries or private security firms or whatever you call it. I did a video on that. Have a look at it. So, shifting sands. That's why tomorrow, day after tomorrow, watch that thingy. Do you think new Syrian government will be democratic and will could? I doubt. We'll see a lot of problems coming ahead. Don't worry. Yeah, why India is silent when neighbors poke like Bangladesh? We are not silent. We don't be. We don't have to respond to every action of theirs like a reaction. We have to act. I think we are doing it. Will India ever consider any military action against armed groups outside its own territory? We've done it. We've done it in Bhutan. We've done it in Myanmar. I think you've forgotten. We've done it in Pakistan. Surgical strikes. So we'll do it. We did it in Maldives. So I think you have poor memory. Will it affect India in any way? Yeah, I did explain. India will has opportunity to, you know, get something out of it. Yeah, we'll talk of Taiwan day after tomorrow. Oh no, tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll talk of it. Yeah, I think. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, this is your question. The global peacemakers end up in supporting radicalism in the name of establishing democracy. Is it accidental or by design? It is by force of circumstances. Man thinks and God proposes, no? Oh, disposes, yeah. Man proposes, God disposes. That's what's happening here. How long will it take before the next round of fighting starts? It might start tomorrow. Let's not be. Is this not an EU play to build a gas pipeline via Qatar? Now that the EU engine is coming apart and they're saying, Nick, that's what I said. I won't rule EU out of this deal. Is it safe to assume Syria as a country? No, it will not. You don't assume that. Okay. Is India the next target for Turkey with it sending attack? No, no, no. Don't even think like that. Can a Syria situation happen in the subcontinent? It's already happened in Bangladesh. It's already happened in Bangladesh. So what's so great about it? Okay, I think I've taken all your questions very patiently. Is there anyone else new who's come? Yeah, let's say Sai. It's Indian troops that's all across the world under blue helmets. That counts as, yeah, I no doubt about it. You'll see we'll gain. Overall, India will gain. Don't worry. That's the way I look at it. Opportunity opens up for India. Right. Uh, I've done. Thanks a lot for joining me in. I think many people don't understand. We are focused on Pakistan, we are focused on Bangladesh, we are focused on our neighborhood. When we talk of the Middle East, you're looking at Israel, this, that, and all that. Many people have missed the importance of Syria. Okay, and Syria is a very important nation uh, geopolitically. It has had its problems. Whatever I've said that. So, what happens in Syria has already affected West Asia and the Middle East. It is already affecting the global geopolitics. Okay, and we'll see what the domino effect will happen, and we'll you come back to me after some time. We'll see what the state in Syria is. With this, thank you. Good evening and Jai Hind. But tomorrow, join me for the decline of China, which is official now. Jai Hind.